Guys, after subscribing to this channel, please make sure that you also press the bell icon so that no notification, no new video of mine, any educational video, is missed by anybody.
All right, let's begin with the May 2024 paper number 2. This was on obstetrics. The first question that was asked was HIV in pregnancy. And the first question itself was antepartum management of a primary gravida at 24 weeks with HIV positive status, which is actually the most important part. The next most important will be the management of an HIV positive patient in labor. And then is the management of neonate born to the HIV mother. Usually, apart from these, there are no other questions which are asked. So these two are the paramount important questions. If you've done this from HIV, you've covered HIV. Okay, as simple as that. So first of all, antepartum management, first step will be to confirm and counsel. This is as per NACO guidelines. So first of all, confirmation of the HIV status and counseling. I'll come back to it. Then the baseline workup of this patient. Okay, she is HIV positive, but I need to know her baseline workup. All right. Then I'd like to do a proper start of antiretroviral therapy, how much to give, how often to give, what to monitor, everything I'll explain. And then step 4 is a proper, robust monitoring protocol. Once you've started her on antiretroviral therapy, how to monitor this patient. And then I'll take you to the labor part, right? Let's start with the first confirmation. So confirm the HIV status with a 3 sequential rapid test. You will not rely on one test alone. Then pre-test counseling, post-test counseling, partner notification with the consent of the patient, and the partner testing should be offered. Then finally, disclosure, support, screening for intimate partner violence or mental health support, and then finally you link to the ART center on the very same day, test and treat, so that the patient does not get lost to follow up. And at the same time, the partner is also equally involved every step of the way, because that person can transmit HIV at any point in time to the partner. So partner also needs to know, and of course that will be in after a due consent from the patient itself. Once you know that this is if you've confirmed that this is an HIV positive patient, you need to know basic details about the patient before you start the therapy. And those basic details will be a CD4 cell count, HIV viral load, complete blood count, LFT, KFT before you start anything, right? Then you need to know the other status as well, like HBS antigen, anti-HCV, the syphilis, hepatitis status, isn't it? At the max, you can ask for pap smear, vaginal swabs for STI, because obviously now your focus is that you're dealing with an STD. So we want to know the other aspects of STI or STI prevention, or she's already having it or not. And since it's a very highly, transmissible disease, we need to know about the other status of the other. Give me 1 minute. Hello? All right, guys. So you'll have to see the basic maternal workup. Then you'll have to, since she's a pregnant female at 24 weeks, you need to know everything. So if you needed everything about the particular condition related to HIV and everything, then you need to know the particular condition of pregnancy and everything. And amongst the pregnancy conditions, you will want to know her current, if she's got any complications, if she's got any high risk factors in this pregnancy. She needs to know about her, how the baby is doing. And she needs to know about, you need to know about her baseline status. That means whether the scan has been done recently or not, the growth scans have been done or not. Is she having any high risk problems like blood pressure, diabetes, or what about the other tests at this particular time? And a baseline screening if there is any opportunistic infection, fair. Then you start her on the antiretroviral therapy. And what are those 3 drugs? Everybody should be able to tell me by now. So it's tenofovir, lamivudine, as well as dolutegravir. These things can keep going up and down. Usually, emtricitabine replaces dolutegravir, but usually they are like this. Ritonavir sometimes comes in place of dolutegravir, but mostly these are the 3 drugs. TLD we call them. Tenofovir, lamivudine, as well as dolutegravir. TLD. Start immediately on diagnosis, irrespective of the CD4 cell count or the gestational age. And this is now the preferred method of management. ART is continued lifelong, so we will not stop. Then you start the antenatal monitoring as well. You've started whatever you require to do. You've done the baseline test. You've started the antiretroviral. Now what do? You do the viral load every trimester. And your aim is for undetectable viral load that is less than 50 copies per ml. At least 4 weeks before delivery, you should reach that space. Okay. Then adherence counseling at every visit. Single most important predictor of vertical transmission is that the female is taking the drugs regularly. Avoid any invasive procedures during the pregnancy as well as in the intrapartum period. And then finally, give tetanus toxoid, iron, folic acid tablets, calcium as per routine antenatal schedule. Just maintain her normal antenatal schedule as it is. And on top of that, you have to add to it viral load every trimester, CD4 cell count at least twice in the pregnancy. Give all these vaccines like influenza vaccines. Do not give live vaccines because obviously she's got immunocompromised status there. But tetanus toxoid, influenza vaccine, diphtheria vaccine. Counsel against breastfeeding. Give alternatives. Okay. If the AFAS criteria, that means affordable, feasible, acceptable, sustainable, as well as safe criteria are met, the patient is able to manage bottle feed or good infant formula milk, then probably yes for avoiding breastfeeding. Otherwise, in India, NACO advises exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, despite the patient being HIV positive, provided the patient is taking ART. A word about how we'll manage an HIV positive patient intrapartum. So first of all, mode of delivery should be, if it is less than 1,000 copies. I asked this question and to my surprise, people were highly confused, which you should not be. I said, is it 100 or is it 1,000? And I think 80% answers were 100. No. If it is less than 50, definite yes, you can go ahead with vaginal delivery. That's even for the RCOG, the Royal College. But Royal College becomes very categoric. Anything above 50, go for cesarean section. In India, we can't, bring in that kind of a reform because ours is a low resource setting. So here, we've given 1,000 copies per ml as, after which we will take her up for a cesarean section. So till that time, if the viral load is less than 1,000 copies per ml near term, we can go for a vaginal delivery. The moment it is above 1,000 copies per ml or there is unknown level of viral DNA at 36 weeks and more, please go ahead for elective cesarean section at 38 weeks. We will avoid all these things like artificial rupture of membranes, fetal scalp electrode, instrumental delivery, episiotomy unless indicated, or we'll try to cut short the second stage if there is a history of ruptured membranes, because there is more, as you wait, there is more and more chance of transmission of HIV to the baby. We will continue maternal ART throughout the labor without any interruption, but we might give IV zidovudine intrapartum if the viral load is more than 1,000 copies and the patient is insisted for a vaginal delivery. Okay. So these are the things you will remember intrapartum. Of course, the universal precautions of double gloves, eye protection, sharps disposal, close suctioning of the neonate, avoiding milking of the cord, because we want as little of maternal blood, the blood load to go into the fetus. And postpartum, you need an active management of the third stage with oxytocin. You will avoid ergometrin, and you will continue the maternal ART lifelong. Just 2 marks for neonatal management. Like I told you, HIV in pregnancy, there is nothing else going to be asked apart from these questions. Believe me, nothing. Max to max, we can ask post-exposure prophylaxis. That also I'll tell you whenever we are going to discuss that. High-risk infant and low-risk infant. You need to understand what you mean by high-risk infant and what is low-risk infant. So low-risk means an infant to a mother who has been on suppressive prophylaxis for at least 4 weeks or more before delivery, or her viral load is almost undetectable. So that's a low-risk infant. High-risk infant is either you did not know, mother was diagnosed late in pregnancy, there was no time of giving ART for more than 4 weeks before delivery, or the viral load is more than 1,000 copies per ml near delivery, or the mother was on HRT for less than 4 weeks before the delivery, or the mother is not very properly adherent on ART. So how you manage a low-risk infant as a high-risk infant? So low-risk infant, all you give is syrup nevirapine once daily for 6 weeks. You can even stop at 4 weeks. High risk, on the other hand, you need at least dual prophylaxis with syrup nevirapine as well as zidovudine, and that you might extend to 6 weeks to 12 weeks if the patient is being breastfed as well. Nevirapine is given 10 milligrams OD. The dose is about 2 to 2.5. 15 milligram OD if the baby is more than 2.5. Sorry, if the baby is between 2 to 2.5 kg, you give 10 milligram OD, and if the baby is 2.5 kg and more, you give 15 milligram OD. All right. And zidovudine, the syrup, this injection will be 4 milligram per kg twice daily. All right. And of course, we need to diagnose infant at birth. So HIV, DNA, PCR at 6 weeks, 6 months, 12 months. 6 weeks, 6 months, 12 months, and finally 6 weeks after cessation of breastfeeding also. That is after almost 6 months of, exclusive breastfeeding. And finally, you need to do an antibody test at 18 months for final confirmation. You will go ahead with exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months under maternal ART NACO guidelines. And you can continue breastfeeding to 12 months, but then you should start with complementary feeds after 6 months, which is true with every infant. Routine immunization will go on except for oral polio vaccine will be replaced by injectable polio. BCG can be given if the patient is absolutely asymptomatic and the, the load is undetectable. Anyone with any questions? Because now we're starting with the next.